Oh.
That's how we're opening it?
Yep, that's the opening. That is the opening to today's lovely, excellent, awesome episode of the Don't Panic podcast. You already know what's going on. We're here talking about politics, history, culture, art, whatever we care about from the perspective of two leftist assholes. And, hopefully with a little bit more information, you will panic a little bit less. Today we have an excellent, super lovely guest, the absolutely gorgeous, a small rash on TikTok. Hello. How are you today?
I'm great. How's it going?
Well, we're grand. I'm not in my normal space, as you guys can see. There is no closet here. I am actually at my girlfriend's parents' place for Thanksgiving, which is
that's in Virginia or Carolina?
North Carolina. I said North Carolina.
I forgot.
Oh, did I say North?
I forgot where that was located. It's over here.
Yeah, just bring that over. Just slightly. Hold on. Cheeky microphone in frame.
Yeah, just place this right here.
There you go.
That's good.
Just
right there.
So handsome.
Yeah, you look so good.
Right?
No, I have it placed in a different direction for when I stream, just because I'm facing this way when that happens. So.
Mm-hmm. But so the reason why I bring up Thanksgiving, other than the fact that so that someone who picks this up one day will be like, oh, nice, a podcast from 2020, that ancient year in Thanksgiving.
Sure.
But I bring that up because as we all know, Thanksgiving in the United States is a fun, cheeky little celebration of that one time that we eviscerated the natives. Which was pretty shitty. And the reason why we brought a small rash on today is to talk about Australia's Indigenous situation, a little bit of history, and her knowledge on the situation, because I don't know shit about it. I don't know if Jed knows shit about it, but I don't know if anyone that listens to us knows shit about it. But it'd be a good thing to learn about, So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I know that Sydney exists.
It does.
That's
right.
Kangaroos.
Yes.
Like
Absolutely.
Australia, all I know about Australia is like Fosters, alligators, drop bears, and how everything can and wants to kill you.
We don't have
alligators.
alligators.
What is drop bears?
Oh, you have crocodiles. Okay, sorry.
Or maybe we do. We might have freshwater ones. I don't know. I just know we have crocs.
Okay, you guys got crocs.
Yes.
Do you know what drop bears are?
No, I'm imagining bears like parachuting out of a chopper, which is incredibly scary. So what are drop bears?
It's just it's koala bears, but with a twist.
With a twist? What's the twist?
They'll eat people, like specific. I think it's specifically to frighten tourists.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, don't go there. There's drop bears. But yeah, I don't know. Koalas are kind of vicious. They're cute as hell though. They're always high. They got chlamydia.
They've all.
Wait. What?
Most
koalas have chlamydia.
Yep.
Koala-mydia?
Yeah.
But what is there a reason? Is that like sort of a natural sort of thing? Is it like a defense mechanism kind of deal, or are they just like fucking?
Wait,
got no idea.
How would you use chlamydia as a defense mechanism?
I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna let everyone know I'm not a doctor. Big surprise. But I don't know. Maybe perhaps there's some sort of like, maybe they have a predator that goes specifically for their giblets, and their giblets are just real tender and tasty. And like, maybe it's like dang it. Now I got chlamydia in my face. I'm not going to go for another koala.
I think I've got one tidbit fact. I think koalas don't really have many natural predators. I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard this on the grapevine that because they only eat eucalyptus leaves, their organs are like toxic. So people like animals don't really eat them because they're
That
toxic. I don't know.
sounds
That could be
like
total.
vaguely familiar, like a fact that I might have heard at some point.
Right, right.
They
It
just
sounds
want
like
to die and sleeping 22 hours a day or something, which sounds great to me.
I
Yeah.
love that. I kind of want to be a sloth, but like I
kind of
also
already
don't want
are.
to take a. I mean, a little bit, but like I don't want to take a whole day to poop.
Is that a thing also?
Yeah. Oh no. Most sloths end up dying while they're pooping because their digestive tracts move so slow that that's when they're the most vulnerable to predators. Because they can't be hanging in a tree while they're doing their business. So they're just like,
Taking the whole day to poop kind of sounds like the day after Thanksgiving, actually.
yep.
Oh.
It's weird what we have going on over here. My TikTok feed has just been full of people just like doing their crazy turkey shit. Just like we're gonna make this spice rub and we're gonna inject the breasts of this turkey with spices and then we're gonna deep fry it in this giant thing. And I'm like, you guys go through way too much effort for a dry, bland bird that no one needs to eat.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I like turkey. Personally, I mean, I only eat it like once a year anymore, but like, I don't, there are certain parts of the turkey. This is the last turkey thing. Then we'll get on topic. But like there are parts of the turkey that are kind of juicy and not like super dry. You know, if you cook it right.
Yeah, I think that turkey is definitely a white people thing because it's dry and bland.
I have no arguments against this. I'm just gonna take it.
Because I mean, if you ever go to Thanksgiving at a non-white house, and I can't speak on this too much because my parents are white, but I have been to Thanksgiving at my friend Nate's house, and they didn't have turkey. They had a honey smoked ham. So,
man, I don't know.
And the sides are also always great. It's not just like crouton, like soft like wet croutons as stuffing, like it's actual like real stuffing, or like collard greens, creamed spinach, baked mac and cheese. You know.
See, I'm one of the I'm the small percentage of lucky white people who have parents that can cook. My dad was a trained chef. Like he went to school for chefery, culinary arts. That's the word I was looking for. We got it. But yeah, no, he went to school for culinary arts, dude. Like he knows how to bang out some fucking shit. So I've never like understood the like, oh, white people make bland food. It's like, my dad's a fucking amazing cook. Get out of here. But like I've seen some shit at other people's houses and I'm just like, this is inedible.
I think the joke came from like foods that were born out of like white culture. I mean, there are European foods that are like fantastic. So it's clearly not that, but it's like American white culture or maybe like Anglo-Saxon culture of like the thing about like Britain, right? Like England, like there is no good natural food that like the thing that they make really well is like Indian food because of their colonization of India. Like there's no real good English food. Like if we're talking about like blood pie or like blood sausage or even like shepherd's pie, I think shepherd's pie is like, I mean, the most exotic thing in the shepherd's pie is baked beans. So, I mean,
wait, you're eating shepherd's pie with baked beans?
Yeah.
What? It's supposed to be veggies and meat, isn't it? With potato.
I was gonna say potato.
When I had it, it's mashed potato, ground beef, with like
Yeah.
onions and mushrooms and then baked beans.
No, it's supposed to be like peas and carrots and like other veg. What, beans? You've already got a really starchy thing with your potatoes. Like, why would you go more starch?
I don't think white people are in the business of avoiding starch.
We're not, but at the same time, like.
I mean, if you've looked at Italian food.
Actually, so speaking of the American thing, if you watch like, not even watch, if you look at old timey like magazine articles or not articles, like advertisements, that's what I'm looking for. There was this, I remember seeing like mayonnaise, like it was almost like shaped like an avocado. You know the way that people eat avocado now, but it's like, it was mayonnaise. And then there was like some other like stuff put on it, but like mayonnaise was like the base. And I was just like, oh my God, who approved this? What is this? Like what kind
You mean
of,
they were eating like straight mayonnaise?
like, yeah, like they were trying to present mayonnaise as like a thing that you just,
I don't know. Early to mid 1900s America was very interesting. They had some very interesting like branding and rebranding efforts. Like, did you guys know that Listerine, mouthwash, was actually originally created to be a floor cleaner?
What?
Yeah. Yep. It was meant to be put onto linoleum floors to clean linoleum floors.
Is it the same?
It failed in its sales that way, so they rebranded it as a mouthwash. And the chemical compounds are about the same. Like they didn't really change the ingredients.
But that is America.
America.
Fuck yeah. It's okay. At least we don't eat Marmite.
Marmite's disgusting.
What is the difference between Marmite and Vegemite?
Marmite is disgusting. It immediately be thrown away. Vegemite is the shit.
Isn't Vegemite just another brand of Marmite?
Don't ever say that to me ever again. No. No, it is not. It is very different. I think they discovered Vegemite from the bottom of a yeast barrel, like from beer, like all the sediment.
Okay.
And that's how they kind of got to it. I think, maybe, I don't know. That could also be smack that I've just heard on the grapevine.
Right.
I have to Google this.
Yeah.
Difference between
Vegemite. Because I think Marmite version and I don't know.
And Marmite.
We're learning so much today.
I know, isn't it wonderful?
Also, your earrings.
Thank you.
Very welcome. Did you make those?
I did. So I got the Aboriginal flag.
Lovely.
Which is one of the Indigenous peoples of Australia. This is like
okay.
We've got mobs, which are like tribes.
Okay.
And then it's a little piggy.
Yeah.
So Vegemite is Marmite, but it's a brand of it, sort of similar like ketchup and catsup, and it has added spices. But they were both a byproduct of beer brewing.
I was right.
Yeah.
In some way.
Right.
So Marmite's terrible.
We were both right.
Vegemite.
But Vegemite is fancy Marmite.
It's got spices, so that's why.
It's spices. Exactly. So let's get away from food for a second, because we could go all day just talking about the weird shit that we all eat. And let's get real spicy. So
okay.
Yeah. So Aboriginal is a specific. Just starting off because like this is sort of part of my own ignorance. So Aboriginal is a specific kind of Indigenous person to Australia,
from the mainland, and then we have Torres Strait Islander peoples who are from the Torres Strait Islands, which is at the top of Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're the Indigenous peoples of Australia, First Nations.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
First Nations.
Yeah.
Cool.
Indigenous was actually originally used solely for North America, and Aboriginal was sort of like a I guess like an Eastern term. But Indigenous is like replacing the use of Aboriginal across the world, like as of like the past like decade. It's like a more
God,
I think it's like a more widely accepted term to be
it's more
like
of a
these
catch-all
are
kind
the
of thing.
original. Yeah, like these are the original people that lived here, as
Mm.
opposed to like
Mm-hmm.
it's not as bad as this, but it's like I think it's like similar to like calling like Native Americans like Indians.
It's very
Yeah.
weird because also Canadian First Nations peoples are also called Aboriginal.
Mm,
So
yeah.
when
Ah,
we talk about, oh, I'm Aboriginal, sometimes people think of other Indigenous groups because, you know, colonizers aren't very original in their names. They gave the same names to many different people. But we, as a collective, say, like, I'm Aboriginal or I'm Torres Strait Islander. And if you know who your like mob or tribe clan is, then you say that. So I'm a proud Gomeroi woman. So that's who I belong to.
Yeah, it's like referring to anyone from Eastern as like Oriental. It's like it's a catch-all and it works, but it's really probably not the best term because it definitely erases like different cultural identities.
100%.
gotcha.
Yeah, it like homogenizes as well. Like definitely just makes us all seem like we're the same. And in Australia, we have over, well, I think pre-colonization, we had over 250 different clans or mobs, as well as different languages. And, you know, a lot of language has been lost because of the violence of colonization. And each culture is very, very different. Each mob is so different. Their language is different. Their traditions, their laws. You know, it's all and like it very homogenizing. But also, it's a way for us to, I guess, identify in a way, which
Mm.
you know, there is controversy around it in academic sort of talks because it does homogenize. And it is like a name that was given by colonizers, but it's also, yeah, I don't know.
It's also like, yeah, in one way, like you said, it was homogenizing and sort of does a bit of erasure, but at the same time, it still serves its usefulness in being able to communicate a sort of common experience of colonization and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and whatnot. Yeah, no, I love whatnot. That's whatnot and what have you. Those are great terms. But
Very controversial topic, so I'm gonna steer away from that one. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, but oh damn, you already. Oh my god, I was like, I was gonna say how many, but like existing at this point. You said that there were over like 200 sort of mobs and.
Like from what I've learned at university, because I'm quite a disconnected person. I didn't grow up in culture. I grew up really disconnected because of colonization, and the White Australia policy and the this is a slur.
What is the White Australia?
White
policy?
Australia policy banned anyone from coming into Australia unless they were white. Because they wanted to make Australia a nation for white people. And it also continued the forced assimilation and breeding out of the black of our Indigenous communities. So that was part of, as well as like the stolen generation is a part of that. So what the government did was they would steal our children and put them in white homes and train them to be domestic servants or farm hands. And then there was laws put in place where we weren't allowed to marry our own peoples unless it was given permission by the government. And usually, we had children with white people and then their children would be stolen. And they had this caste system put down where they were like, oh, and by the 8th generation, the Aborigine, that's a slur, we don't use that, but that is what they would say, the Aborigine would be bred out. They thought we were a dying race. They would give us the soft pillow to extinction. So, yeah, Australia.
They're using the Spanish strategy.
They did give us blankets full of smallpox when they first arrived, so very much following after what they did to the First Nations peoples in the Americas.
Jesus Christ.
They're not creative with genocide. They sort of follow the same patterns.
Yeah, it's very derivative genocide,
Yeah, so
no innovation.
So like in the Americas, Thanksgivings is a day to celebrate for some people, like the founding of America or whatever, but then for First Nations peoples, it's the beginning of genocide. In Australia, we have that too. It's called Australia Day. 26th of Jan, 1788 is where Captain Cook washed upon the shores, and that marks the day of our genocide, but Australia celebrates it as Australia Day.
Didn't you say he was actually Lieutenant Cook and not a captain?
Yes, he was a lieutenant. Yeah.
They just love churching up their fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? Genocidal maniacs.
Yep. It sounds like our Columbus Day, basically.
Oh, what a stinky man, that Columbus.
I
think everyone was stinky back then.
Well, they didn't shout.
They didn't, but I'm pretty sure he extra didn't wash his ass. Like he's got dirty butthole energy. He didn't spread the cheeks. He didn't let the water flow through. Like that's why he was so cool with letting people die, because he was just like, I'm angry about my dirty butthole and I'm racist now.
At what point did not we, but like European culture or people start bathing regularly? Because that was looked at as like bad for like a long time.
Bathing regularly, God. I know they didn't when they came to Australia.
Like bathing was actually looked at as like a negative activity for a long time.
There were like demons in the bathwater or ghosts in there, and having baths, your soul would be snatched. Wasn't that like a whole belief in Europe?
I feel like every act by colonial what have yous was religiously motivated, but so chances are yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say from the very loose world history that I do know, or at least what the internet has told me, is that it was the Moorish people that came to like Europe and all Europeans how to like actually bathe themselves, and something tells me that the fact that the Moors, what I believe is they're a historically like black group of individuals. Yeah. The Moorish people. I looked it up, so I'm not sounding dumb.
I think so. I think that is correct.
But I'm just assuming that with a lot of stuff that comes from any black or brown culture, eventually got turned into some sort of demon shit. Because we really love doing that. We're like, that's you're talking about there's a great TikTok about this. Some lady was like calling Oshun a demon, but he's actually either African or Caribbean. I'm a little off, but I know that he's a deity in his actual like spiritual practice. However, because it's not Western Christianity, they're like, it's a demon. This is damn devil worshippers. Yeah.
A lot of demonization of BIPOC deities in white Wicca stuff that's not original Wicca. That's sort of like this new age spirituality stuff, which has, some roots in colonization, because they do be taking from closed practice cultures quite often. Yeah. Like hoodoo Dude, those are close practice. I don't want to see you doing that sort of stuff. Very concerning.
Like the new age spiritual nonsense. I mean, even ever since it like began in like the 60s and 70s, has been like really appropriative. And I mean, yoga in itself went from being, you know, a like a Hindu practice, you know what I mean, to being the go-to exercise for white soccer moms. Yeah, the yoga mom.
Yeah, that's funny. As a yogi.
What?
We've built an entire, I don't want to call it a culture, but just like almost like a joke culture around like yoga instructors and like cuckoldship. And
Cuckoldship?
yeah, like the hot white mom is like has like the MILF white mom has a yoga instructor who's like a young man, you know, who's just got like long hair and he's ripped and he probably lives in a van. And you know,
Right.
you said your ex?
Yeah, he's a trained yogi.
No.
He's white as well. He went to India to get trained, and you know he had long hair. You hit the nail on the head. Bless him.
Yeah.
Bless him.
But that's like an entire joke. Like that's like a sort of a common comedic theme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Hey.
It's replaced the 90s pool boy. Now it's the yoga instructor.
Yep, it's the 2020s yoga instructor.
Yeah.
Exactly. He definitely he does some sort of tantric massage, which is really just like, you know, fingering women for money. Which, funny enough, used to be what gynecologists were.
Really? Is this a historical thing? Like, is this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Before.
The hysteria.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Vibrators were originally created to end hysteria, which is, you know, women acting up.
Women have an opinion.
Women having a.
Oh God.
Excuse me, miss. I don't like your opinions. Take this vibrator.
Yeah, they would do forced like orgasm therapy, and I was like, damn, what? Take me back. No, I'm kidding. That's women.
No. take me back when they prescribed cocaine for ghosts in my blood.
Yeah.
But
I mean, orgasm therapy that's basically what a prostate exam is now, right?
I wouldn't know.
do you orgasm during your prostate exams?
I've never had a prostate exam.
You should do it. It's a great time.
Oh.
Bought my doctor dinner after. It was amazing.
I felt compelled to. It just didn't feel right otherwise.
Just did. You know, he just made me feel so lovely.
I gave him cash for an Uber, even though he makes more money than me.
Oh God. Anyway.
Well, Thanksgiving is kind of a good way to have this because there's so many things I could segue from that. Like we're very similar experiences, but also very different. Don't want to homogenize our First Nation peoples with your First Nations peoples, but very similar. Like reservation schools, we had them here as well, but they were missions and reserves. And you know, they take our kids, put them in missions, only teach them how to read the Bible, and then put them in homes to be farms, you know, to be servants, unpaid. We had unpaid wages until God. Let me see. I think it was like well into the 80s where people weren't being paid wages. Stolen generation, which was the forced removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children, didn't stop until the late 1970s. The government apologized in 2008.
We're sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry, but we're also going to make sure the stealing of your children is higher than the official stolen generation now. So our kids are out of home care now more than ever, more than the stolen generation. And this is all new research. It's being dubbed the new stolen generation.
So wow. So the same. Is it the same mechanisms, like, or is it sort of transformed into like a modern version?
It's like a modern version. So there's like, because I was looking into it the other day, because I got into an argument with someone about it, because they're like, oh, the reason why kids are being stolen is because they're in abusive households. And I was like, okay, some of them may be abusive, but most of the time those parents were part of the stolen generation. And when you look into like this Bringing Them Home report, which was a report done on the stolen generation, I think it was released in 1997, and then a new one was released recently. Almost all of the kids in stolen generation were abused in some way. We weren't allowed to practice culture, weren't allowed to speak our language, and that's traumatizing. And being ripped away from your parents and put into a white home that abuses you, that's trauma. And our people never got the chance to heal from that. We're still healing from that. People still today don't know who their families are, haven't been able to reconnect. Never got, some people die without meeting their mum again since they were a kid. So there's that trauma, and trauma is intergenerational. It gets passed down. It's always being passed down. And I think with the statistics that they're finding now for the new stolen generation, is that I think it's 13% are being taken out of home because of neglect. Now, one of the biggest things with neglect is poverty. So, we have really high poverty levels, but that's because we weren't, put into proper schools for education. We weren't hired for jobs. We were put onto missions to, like the reservations in
Like
America.
You guys were systemically fucking kneecapped, and they're like going around being like, oh man, we fucked over these kids in their early life, and look at that, well into adulthood, they haven't quite adjusted financially or emotionally. We better take their kids and just do it all again. Like, fuck. Sorry, I hate.
No, get angry because it makes me angry, and because this is dubbed the new stolen generation. I'm gonna look up now to make sure the statistics are right, but the kids being stolen now is the statistics of it is terrifying to see, especially when the government's like, we're sorry, but we'll do it again.
Yeah, I mean, the argument that person used toward you of like, oh well, because they're coming from abusive households, it's very similar to sort of like, because of what we have going on here with the family separation at the border with Mexico and South America. A lot of people who are for it will argue along the lines of, oh well, I mean, those aren't their parents, they're being trafficked. And I'm like, yeah, I think, saying that every single instance is not that would be foolish. I mean, I'm sure it's happening, but it's not a statistical majority. Like, these are asylum seekers. But
yeah, it's not like, there's any sort of evidence or anything suggesting that, human trafficking it happens more at sports games than it does at the border. There are more kids being stolen and shipped off to that kind of nonsense at the fucking Super Bowl than there are, coming across the border.
I mean, it's definitely a big issue, but it's a domestic issue. They're not bringing trafficked children in. That's not really,
you're right,
not really a thing.
Well, I mean, I think it's just a very convenient. I think that the human trafficking. I think that so listening to this pattern, there is a an excuse of criminality that justifies the further marginalization of oppressed groups in colonized nations, right? Like you've got the example here with the with the new stolen generation of these claims of abuse. Your example with the claims of human trafficking. You've also got the same thing with sex workers, right? We passed SESTA and FOSTA like a couple of years ago, and they were two acts that were supposed to be protecting women from human trafficking, but all it really did was shut down all of the safety measures and online precautions that sex workers themselves essentially created so that they could create a safe environment for themselves, right? And then we get you've got the same thing with, like we literally use criminality as an excuse for the plight of Black Americans constantly, like it's kind of insane. It's almost at this point, I'm just like, laws seem to just be there to fuck with the lowest people on the rung. And like I'm no goddamn lawyer, but there's a lot of things. Not a lawyer, not a doctor, but being the layman that I am, listening to like experts and people who are much smarter than me, my only conclusion can be is like, these laws are definitely trying to fuck with people and make it okay because some piece of paper that a bunch of people that aren't part of the group that we're fucking with agreed upon.
Yeah, I mean, well, the criminalization of, activities done by poor people is like, I mean, look at how the state uses crime rates as a way to justify over policing. These are crimes that your rich suburban white kids who commit the same crimes are not getting punished for. You don't have children being taken away. You don't have benefits being taken away. You don't have what is it that woman? She's serving, I think, 6 years for using her parents' address to get her children into a better school instead of her own. But then, of course, you have that Hollywood actress. They paid schools millions of dollars to basically falsify test scores and accept her children into prestigious schools when they were they had garbage grades. And yeah, she was sentenced to 3 months, but she only served 2 weeks in and it wasn't prison either. It was some rich person rehab vacation center. I mean, she just got spas and played tennis and shit for 2 weeks, and then now she's out. I mean, I think her and the other families that they paid an average of $15 million over 2 years to get their children into prodigious, whatever the word is.
Prestigious schools.
Prestigious. I was gonna say prodigious. I don't know why.
Prodigious. We have
Digimon.
Fucked up rates of incarceration in Australia for us. So we are less than 3% of the general population, but Aboriginal men make up 27% of the prison population. For women, it's 34%. For Aboriginal youth, we make up 54% of the population. In the Northern Territory, which is a state, 100% of the juvenile youth detention centre populations is Aboriginal, 100%. Indigenous youths are 17 times more likely to be in prisons than non-Indigenous Australians. We have this issue with Aboriginal deaths in custody right now that we have been fighting for years, where since the Royal Commission into Aboriginal deaths in custody, which was literally a commission that I think they pulled out 317 recommendations on how to prevent our deaths in custody, which was from neglect and from being murdered by cops. Since that Royal Commission, they haven't really put any of those recommendations in place. And I think over 438 people, Aboriginal people, now have died in custody. And the Aboriginal deaths in custody rates since the Royal Commission into it in 1991 have gone up by 150%. We are the most incarcerated peoples in the world in statistics. We make up less than 3% of the general population, but we, in some cases, especially for juveniles, make up more than 50% of the juvenile detention center populations.
Wow.
Wow.
And they are locking our kids up for stealing Freddo frogs at convenience stores.
Stealing what?
Freddo frog, like a little chocolate, like an 80-cent chocolate. They're giving kids sentences for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So wow. When I make the joke about Australia just being America's racist cousin, that's just truth.
Yeah, but no one really knows about us because our government does a pretty good job of not talking about us. Like our Prime Minister the other day said that there wasn't slavery in Australia. There was slavery in Australia. And he had to apologize afterwards and be like, oh, because he was like, I don't even know why we have BLM here. We didn't have slavery like America. And everyone was like, yeah.
Excuse me?
We had, when we paid wages.
It seems like a common theme among, I mean, at least off the top of my head, reviewing different nations, but nations that are a product of European colonization and colonial, God, what is the word I'm thinking of? Practices. Yeah. I mean, the punishment of the lesser is still a part in other cultures, but it feels like, at least I'm thinking about like Asia and like China and stuff. Like they have, of course, their own issues, but I feel like these kinds of issues do not plague them. I mean, they are, there's an extermination of those of the Muslim faith happening in Western China right now, and it's pretty terrible. But
there's we have police brutality here as well, and a lot of over policing and all that sort of stuff. Because I should say this as well, Indigenous Australians, so Torres Strait Islander peoples and Aboriginal peoples are black. We spell it with BLAK though, as our own sort of form of identity rather than BLAK. But yeah, so very, very frustrating living in this colony. And there's a lot of
this sort of punishment and demonization of darker skin is definitely very rampant across, everywhere. Yeah, like that is a thing in Japan, and even in China. Like, if we go back into like Chinese history, the Han Dynasty sort of instilled a culture in China that of just like whiteness and purity, which is why a lot first of all, when you think of Chinese people, you do think of like very light skinned people, and they're being white is a sign of beauty there. Women will walk with umbrellas in the daytime to avoid tanning. And that all started, initially when what you would consider to be the majority group of Chinese people sort of took over. But when it was prior to be warring clans, and a lot of the other sort of Chinese groups were eradicated or forced elsewhere. So one thing about me is I don't hold a lot of the sort of traditional Chinese features, even though I'm like 97% Chinese. Because my main history is of one of those other groups. I'm not Han Chinese. I don't remember the term, but they were like a Western clan that lived in the desert and they had dark skin, and then when all the dust was settled through like hundreds of years of warring, um, my group of people were actually sort of forced down out of China into southern Asia. So that would explain why there's also parts of like Cambodian and Viet and Malaysian in my genetics, because those people were forced down there. They assimilated into those cultures, and come 1993, there's a lot of mixing, and Hong Kong is a very, I don't know what to call it, culturally diverse, but at least among Asian nations, it's culturally diverse city. So, but yeah, I'm like 97% Chinese, but I'm not Han Chinese, and I have not round features. I have wider eyes. I have like high cheekbones. That's like a thing that like Han Chinese people don't have. It like the round soft face and soft features is like a big thing among like Han Chinese. So,
Things I didn't know.
yeah, people actually assume I'm Viet based on my features.
That's kind of funny. There's a wait. I was gonna say even in Italy there are sort of these sort of notions of colorism, where like the North Italians are like they're a little bit paler
Oh,
and
versus
kind of
like
look like me,
Sicilians.
versus the Sicilians who are like the darker Italians, and like I don't know what part of Italy my family's from, so I'm not gonna be like, yeah, man, whatever. But I'm a vampire. I'm literally reflecting light. So
You're from the Gabagool region.
I'm from the Gabagool region. Listen, it's not a coup d'état unless it's from the coup d'état region of France. It's
I'm pretty sure Italians weren't allowed into Australia during the original version of the White Australia policy until later. And especially Greek people, because Greek people are not considered white in Australia.
Italians were very punished in the U.S. during like very Anglo-Saxon controlled U.S. society, American society as well. They were.
I mean, the concept of whiteness, it has shifted so much over the last like 100, even the last like 50 years. Because like when Hitler was talking about like his version of fucking eugenics, when he was talking about white people, he was talking about white Germans, white Western Europeans. Italians weren't part of that. Russians weren't part of that. Jews weren't part of that. And like even those attitudes kind of carried on here in the U.S. Like you were just saying, the Italians were subject to like police violence and all types of shit. They also ran the fucking mob, but that was like similar to the way that like black gangs functioned in the United States, and a lot of gangs functioned as I'm starting to learn, functioned as one, protection from the cops, protection from other gangs, and like
it's in defense of community is how it starts, and it's a way to provide for community too, where I mean, it's a legal activity, but you create your sort of your own economic system within a community that separates you from the state, which is oppressing you. So, I mean, the creation of gangs and the mob all sort of just kind of makes sense, and it's why we have a continuous gang problem. I mean, if you didn't oppress and over police and basically economically abandon the inner cities, then gangs probably wouldn't exist. But here we are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Oh God, I had another point that I was going to bring up.
Oh, my bad.
Lost it. No, you're good. That's my brain. You were fine. It's ADHD, dude. Sometimes I will have like a thought, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep this thought until my friend is done talking, because I want them to finish their thought, and then I'm gonna add in. And I'm like, yep, absorbing the information, yep, and then all of a sudden, everything that you just said pushes my thought all the way out there, and then there it goes.
Goodbye.
That happens to me all the time. I had something I wanted to say that wasn't that while you were talking, and now that's gone. So I don't know.
I was about to say something and now I've lost it.
Yeah, that's just my wonderful ADHD brain.
Are we all
We're
like
killing it.
here?
What's up?
Do we all have ADHD here?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh
I am
god.
professionally diagnosed. I got diagnosed back um, when it was considered to be ADD and ADHD, and there was a discernible difference. Now I believe it's called Type A and Type 2. I don't know why you wouldn't do A and B or 1 and 2, but it's Type A and Type 2, I'm pretty sure. Or it's Type 1 and Type B. It's like either or.
Whoever wrote
And then there's combined type. Um, so I think A. I think it's A and 2. And A is like more similar to what used to be diagnosed as ADHD. And then 2 is what was diagnosed as ADD. And they're different things. So it's like 1 is lack of attentiveness and easy distraction. But then ADHD was actually over attentiveness to all surroundings without focus on a single thing. And people who have that are typically more inclined to have combined type, and then also share a lot of traits with obsessive compulsive disorder, and are typically also on the autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I haven't been formally diagnosed in a long time. My therapist, when describing like things that I take issue with like subconsciously and stuff like that, she's like 99% convinced that I'm just like high functioning autistic. And OCD is also a big thing of like people on the autism spectrum as well.
I have OCD. It my damn life.
I think it's interesting because like within I'm part of a couple of like Facebook meme groups and whatnot that are people who are like neurodivergent and whatnot. Like I think I'm following like an autism like informational type of thing as well. But they shared a meme where they were like, "Oh, you got ADHD? You mean diet autism?" And I was like, "Wow." It's like they are somewhat similar in some of our emotional responses. Like I have emotional meltdowns like when there's just too much coming at me and like versus oh man, it was so bad. Like this one time, and we can go back on to other topics, but this one time I was at a dance practice, and it was like a breakdancing practice, and kind of the way that it worked was everybody stands in a circle, and then one person, goes onto the floor and does their thing, and then they move, and then someone else goes. And so I went, and my friend Tiffany comes out at the same time, and I'm like, nah, I've been waiting. I want the floor, right? And I didn't like say that, but like my body language was saying that. And somebody else, this guy Jerry, great dude, kind of sort of saw the her and I not necessarily collide, but like get kind of close to one another, and like he reacted with like yo whoa, 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 like real loud, and like like we were doing something wrong, and that like made my fight or flight like go off, and I was just like and I like stormed out of the room, and I cried for like 20 minutes. It's just like, because just for some reason like my brain couldn't handle the stimulation of like wanting to dance, hearing all the loud ass music, almost colliding with my friend, and also hearing someone like yell in my general direction, and I was just like ah! So I went and cried for like 20 minutes. It was great.
Sensory overload. I have that all the damn time, and I you get so angry you cry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's the best.
Oh, you're gonna say sorry? I interrupted you.
Oh, shit. It's all good.
Oh,
But here's a different point. What's very interesting is like, even though we probably all share the same kind of type of, ADHD, it manifests in like different ways, which is like very interesting. So like, the issue that you described is like something that wouldn't happen to me. Like, um, I don't really get like, I mean, occasionally I do, but it depends on the situation. I don't really get like social anxiety or like anything like that either, which is like a big thing among people. Or like I do, but like
Just flexing your social like efficacy. Fuck you.
Or like my brain is just brawny enough to just totally suppress those feelings. Like, but like one thing is for me, it's like straight lines and even numbers is like a really, well, not even even numbers, but like, okay, here's one. If I'm ever in the car and I'm driving and I have like cruise control on or like volume or like heat, right, or like temperature in the car, it's got to be like increments of 10 of like fives, so like 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. If ever there's one that's too much and I have to go in between, it's 7. So nothing is ever at 6, nothing is ever at 8 or 9. It's always, so there's those. It's like what's another one? If I'm organizing things on my desk, even though it is a little bit messy right now because like this whole area over here is like getting fixed, like the walls getting replaced and beams were done, so like all this shit's around. But it's like I need to have like, I have my computer here, I have a TV mounted here, I have picture shelf. Over here it was like picture shelf, and it's like things need to be very even, you know like if I ever have like a coffee table, it's like thing in the center, remote on this side, remote on this side, you know.
Yep.
yeah.
What's the word? Oh, symmetry. Symmetry is like what I'm looking for, but
Yeah.
also like I also don't like round things either. So like,
You don't like balls?
I thought you were going to say boobs, and this was going to become a different conversation. But like from a design standpoint or like an aesthetic standpoint, no. Like strong, like hard edges and like cubes. It boils down even to like if we're talking about like game systems, like the Xbox is like people are like, oh, it's just like a box or whatever, and the PS5 looks cooler. And like it's so aesthetically pleasing for me to be like simple and minimalist and just like a black box with like a logo on it instead of like the PS5, which is like this sort of like construction. It looks like a modern like a modern building. Like in downtown Philly, if Verizon had got like a cajillion dollars to build a new like headquarters, that it would look like a PS5. I'm sure of it.
I'm pretty sure you could Photoshop the PS5 onto the Sydney Opera House and it would make sense.
Yes. It looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like Kaiba is what it looks like.
Oh no.
Like everyone's like, oh, it looks so cool and futuristic. I'm like, I hate it. I hate the way it looks. I'm sorry. Like
I enjoy it.
I can't take it from going vertical to horizontal and still have it look sort of like the same.
It looks, you know what it kind of looks like? It kind of looks like a halfway open cashew. Or not cashew,
pistachio?
Pistachio, there we go.
Yeah.
It looks like a slightly open pistachio, but black and white.
When you said cashew, I imagined a pistachio and just agreed. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the imagery was there regardless of explanation.
Mhm.
But since we're almost at like an hour 20, is there a topic we want to wrap up on here?
Yeah. So what is it? What could we do like to bring more, I mean, obviously just sort of talking about it and bringing these things to light, but how, I mean, this is, I feel like this may or may not be the perfect time to bring up these sort of issues and start talking about it. Like, what is it? You know, say I wanted to be like, hey guys, give a fuck about Australia's indigenous people. You know, it I guess what's the best way of informing people other than just being like, here are the details?
Boost our voices. um, just like awareness, sharing our voices, I guess, like listening to us, because, you know, when I first started my TikTok, people didn't know that we existed. They still thought Australia was terra nullius, which is what it was claimed to be when they first arrived. Terra nullius, no man's land, no one was living here. But we are the oldest living culture in the world. They think it's about 80,000 years of continual culture and connection. And, you know, some people don't even know we exist. So I guess like just boosting our voice, our story, our struggles, our culture as well. Like, you know, you got to bring, like, it's annoying because I want to talk about the things that deeply affect my community, especially my darker brothers and sisters, because, you know, I will never be affected by police brutality because of the color of my skin. So I'll be boosting their voices, their experiences, and bringing attention to that. But sometimes you have to also talk about the positives, our achievements, how beautiful and different our cultures are, our languages are, our people, because that also brings people in. Because I know some people are like, oh, it's too depressing, I don't want to get involved because it makes me depressed. And it's like, people are dying, Bethany. People are dying, okay? I'm sorry that we're being oppressed and it makes you sad. I'm sorry. But
why won't football man stand up for a special skycloth?
Oh God. Speaking slightly off topic, but kind of on. Speaking of people being like, politics makes me depressed. Some fucking nerd. I guess her name's American Hannah. Apparently, she's very popular on the PolitiTalk. But I don't know shit about her. You know, just the fact that she might be like kind of a cringy liberal or something. I don't know. But she recently posted her and this like verified music artist also posted these sort of like lamenting things like political TikTok. American Hannah's post was political TikTok is dying. What kind of content do you want to see from me? And it's like, listen, bitch, politics are still happening. Like, fucking, just because Joe Biden won doesn't mean that like fascism is not creeping in America. Same with this dude who wrote the all of your taxes go to military installations. That guy. Right. He recently posted a video where he was like, oh, I got on TikTok to spread my music and now people just want me to talk about politics. Me. And it's like, bro. Yeah. And it's like, bro, like that's low-key kind of lame. Like I feel you. Like I got on TikTok to dance, but I also care about politics. And I'm going to use both of those things to bring people in because you know what? Politics are fucking depressing. This shit is fucking painful, especially if you're part of the groups of people who are actually affected by this shit. So it's like, put on your big boy pants and write a funny jingle that talks about something that's important, you goddamn asshole. You have the ability to keep people's attention and make them pay attention to shit that they wouldn't. Use that.
I think there's going to be a lot of sort of liberal false sense of security moving forward because Trump lost, and a lot of the political TikTokers whose entire identity was Trump are deleting their accounts, they're deleting their content, they're doing other content. Like Matty America was like one, right? Like, I mean, the guy, if you scrolled his feed, I mean, his entire feed was his Trump flags and him doing dumb dances and being like 4'9" and like yeah, like all that stuff is going to disappear, and like TikTok, a lot of the political TikTok on a lot of the content on political TikTok is going to go away, because a lot of it is also people on the left that are just responding to those TikToks, you know, in what are they called? Not stitches, but just like the way
stitches,
where you like.
Yeah.
No, they are called
stitches.
Okay, yeah. I spent a long time on TikTok, but it's purely in lurk form. So
yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of that's going to disappear. So a lot of political content on TikTok is going to change, and a lot of the stuff that people made over the past 4 years, you know, that they branded as their identity, it's going to change. It shouldn't, but it's going to. But these are the people that engage in politics, as we were describing in the last podcast, the I can't say the word.
Aestheticization.
Thank you.
Aestheticization. I think I said it right.
But these are people that engage in it because it's the current topic. You know, it's this, that, and the third. It's not their entire. You know, it's not something they personally identify with. It's not an identity for them. So there's that. And going down to Rash's point, and for everyone, this is something I wanted to say. Just I thought of it when we were talking about how to get these things. We're talking about the plight of Indigenous peoples in Australia, sort of on the sort of main stage, is you know, people like us, we can ingest what's sort of known, at least the way I view it, as sort of leftist political TikTok style, which is a lot of sort of like fast talking, green screen figures, this, facts, that, right? Responding to someone. It's all very, but it's the way that people ingest information varies. And that one I think would be very hard for some people to take in. Like my friend that I talk about a lot on the podcast, I've shown certain TikToks to him and he's like, I didn't understand a word of that. Like it just flies through. He can't like process that information in that way. So as like a media creative and someone who, you know, sort of focused in like marketing and branding, part of the reason why motion graphics became so popular is because they are some of the it's like the easiest way for everyone to take in the same information. It's like a voice, stuff on the screen, that's the stuff on the screen that's not real people, but it's like animations illustrate what's happening. There's usually text that says what the person's saying. And so if you were something like you said something like 50% of the juvenile incarceration population, it would say that on the screen in text, right? And then you probably have like a kid with like fucking jail bars that came down in front of them in like an animation, you know, something like that. But it's like, digestible. So I think one of the things that would be great would be a large push for like leftist political TikTok to have like people who work in like motion graphics and visual effects start creating content that's similar to that's like that, where it's, you know, their reach would be a lot farther, because, you know, if someone comes across content that they can't understand, it's, you know.
Yeah, immediately.
I need to do closed captions more, because I understand there are like hard of hearing viewers that I have, and me talking totally excludes them from the information that I'm putting out. So imagery is like something really important, as well as closed captions. And also, like, I do find it difficult when people are constantly talking about like theory and academic sort of, and using academic literature and words and stuff like that. And then there's people in the comments being like, can you please like simplify this? I don't understand. They're like, you don't read theory? Get off my page. And it's like, don't be classist and ableist. Don't do that. Explain it in a simple way. And if you want to diverge in a more complex academic way, then do so. But make it accessible for everyone. People who are just starting out, dipping their toes in, you know? Kind of them.
Yeah, it's definitely a large issue regarding like discourse from the left side. Anyways, there's a big appeal to intellectuality that we have, where, you know, we again like we appeal to education and scholarly sources and stuff like that is really not regarded by anyone but us. So there unfortunately there has to be sort of a reach to like the middle ground, which is going to be dumbing stuff down so that it makes sense.
Well, not even dumbing down. See, I think a lot of that attitude, like the oh you don't read theory, like comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of theory. Because like what is it? There's fucking Das Capital, right? But like there's even versions where it's just like it's this big and it says all the same things in very, very like pocket versions, you know what I mean? In very, very simple terms. And it's almost like a weird elitist sort of tool. Like, oh yeah, I use words like axiomatic. Like, fuck out of here, bro. What is that?
I'm an
I'm an academic. Like I actually had a conversation with this fucking kid, or he's like 19, but still, where I was like, he's a kid, but anyway, he said something about like liberal praxis being more effective than leftist praxis, and I'm like, what is liberal praxis? And he couldn't, and then he was like, phone banking and like volunteering, and I'm like, dude, that's not praxis. Praxis is putting theory into practice, right? Like you have, if you're understanding that like one of mutual aid, right? That's, to me, that's praxis. You are understanding that there are systematic disadvantages to this, to the world that we currently live in under capitalism. And because of those systemic disadvantages, people are more focused on getting their needs met than they are, taking on a revolutionary stance, right? So if you through mutual aid, right, you hook somebody up with, say they need food, say they need clothes, say they need a doctor's visit, like whatever, you hook them up with that thing, then that thing is secured, and then they can be like, oh shit, revolution, oh fuck, Marx, like.
I just realized you have so much more intellectual patience than me right there. Because all I could think of during all that is how I would have responded, which was like, bro, you need to practice getting some bitches, dude. Shut up.
Praxis getting some bitches.
Praxis these nuts.
I thought of something. It's not really on this topic, but I did think of something that I really want to say because I think it's important.
Please.
We are the only country in the Commonwealth that doesn't have a treaty with their First Nations peoples.
Oh.
We don't have a treaty. We have Native Title Act, but that can be extinguished, and that was seen, I think it was this year, Native Title was extinguished in Queensland, and those for a mine, because our country loves mining, and those peoples were pushed off of their lands, and now if they go back there, it's illegal and they can be arrested, even though they are the traditional owners of the land. We do not have treaty, and also right now in the works, my peoples are fighting against Santos, who are trying to frack on our land, which will completely destroy our waterways and our country. And yeah, we don't have a treaty. We don't have a treaty.
I mean, the U.S. does have treaties with Native Americans, but right. I mean, holy shit, they're totally ignored anyway. Yeah. I mean, like in 2016, we were fighting about the pipeline. I forget which one it was called. There's a
Dakota Access Pipeline.
Dakota Access Pipeline, which was going right through reservation land, and treaty, says that reservation land is off limits. And it was kind of like, well, yeah, but also like, fuck them,
They have treaties that prove their sovereign rights and that they were ignored. But like because we don't have sovereignty. So our sovereignty was never ceded here because we don't have treaties. We are not recognized as sovereign peoples. and it's very stressful. So even though treaties can be like, for example, in the Americas, obviously they're completely ignored. At least they can. With the Dakota Access Pipeline, there was ways in which the treaty was used to be able to be like, hey.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, they just tear gassed them anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, and sprayed them with fucking water in freezing cold temperatures.
-2
like
Celsius. I don't know what Fahrenheit is, so.
32 degrees.
Yeah, 32 degrees is hot here, so.
Oh god. Fahrenheit is fucking stupid.
It is. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. We don't have a treaty at all.
And that's crazy because even like you just said, there is at least some sort of legal standing for the Native peoples here in the United States to resist in any way they see fit the sort of nonsense that they're put through by the American government. But you guys literally, you don't have that, and it's like, I'm just.
And claiming land was made extremely hard because you have to show, I think you have to show 200 years of continual connection to the land. We were forced off of our land. How are we supposed to show continual connection to the land when we were forced off of it? So I think that was the 10-point land claiming native title thing was put in by the John Howard government. He's a demon. He has great eyebrows though. Demon man.
Wait, he has great what?
He has great eyebrows. They fly all over the place. They sit like this. It's crazy.
You are a connoisseur of great eyebrows.
Thank you. I love eyebrows. Eyebrows are the soles of the face. Don't look at the eyes, look at the eyebrows. You can tell if someone's struggling, if their eyebrows are struggling.
Now I'm self-conscious about my eyebrows.
I can't see your eyebrows. They're too blonde.
Oh, this is the struggle. Sounds like a struggle.
Struggle is real. I can see it. But yeah, even claiming our own land has been made hard by government laws. And there's if we do get native title, that means we are entitled to our land. But if the government gets a $4.6 billion offer from a gas company like Rio Tinto or something, they can extinguish native title and be like, actually, fuck off. That's our land now. We're going to frack the shit out of it. And then you can have it afterwards when it's all fucked up.
That's
Australia.
Fucked.
Yeah.
Australia.
Government, just stay doing that shit. This will be a final point before we wrap up here because we're at an hour and a half here. But when I was in college, I did a documentary about this island off the coast of Georgia called Sapelo Island, which was native to the Geechee people of which were sort of like Caribbean slave. And what happened was the island used to be a slave plantation. And then decades later, hundreds of years later, it was basically purchased as free land by the descendants of those slaves and became their home. So it was like taking ownership of the place that used to oppress them. Cool. Anyway, the state of Georgia, since even though they owned the land, state of Georgia was like, yeah, but we're actually going to use this as missile testing. And the people were like, yeah, you can't do that. And the state of Georgia was just like, we're going to do it. And they basically were just like, we're just going to take this top half of the island. And they're like, okay, well, you got to pay us for the land. They're like, we're going to lease the land. And you're going to accept this basically no money whatsoever. You know what it was? I think they had promised to build an accessible route to the island because it's really only accessible by about a 30-minute ferry from mainland because it has to go through marshes and stuff like that, which they never did. So they established a UGA science lab, and they used the north side of the island for military testing for a bunch of years, which ended in the early 2000s. but they never gave it back. So it's just abandoned like military compound now.
They did nuclear testing near our indigenous communities, and there's rumors that they did it so they could see the effects of nuclear waste and spread on the peoples. Yeah,
I am sure. I'm absolutely sure. I mean, it's like the fucking use of the atomic bomb on Japan in the first place. I mean,
yep.
everyone's like, oh, well, we had to win the war. It's like, well, I mean, U.S. was already winning. I mean, they were on their way to Tokyo.
Japan was literally about to like surrender, and then we were just like, fuck it, bomb.
Yeah, it was basically one to see what an atomic bomb would do in the first place, because they hadn't used one on live people yet, and two, it was to send a message to Russia.
Right.
Well, what do you expect from the KKK and also Australia, which didn't even consider us citizens until 1967? They didn't count us in the census until 1967.
I wonder how much more culturally diverse the world would be if the Ottoman Empire had won and conquered Europe.
Whew.
That's a whole topic. I just realized that's a whole topic.
I personally, I would like to know what it would have been like if, say, the USSR never fell.
I can only wonder.
I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't be here. Like I'd be in Russia. Yeah.
Elon Musk would probably be over there instead.
No, Elon Musk would probably have gotten his ass kicked. Fuck
yeah,
Elon Musk.
by like Stalin's great grandson, they would have just jumped him in the streets and beat the shit out of him.
I hate that young Stalin was attractive.
What do you mean? Old Stalin's attractive. And mustache.
Stalin, like styling.
Oh my God. No, you know who's real sexy though? Che Guevara.
Oh my God, what was this? Where was this joke from? What was this joke from? From a movie or a TV show? It was it was Family Guy. And it's like they meet Edward Norton or something like that. And he's like, so what are you doing? He's like, oh, well, I'm actually practicing for a role. It's about Hitler if he was actually it was in the modern day and a part of a frat. It's called Hotler.
I hate it. And you know what? With the things
he pooped himself. He had poopy problems. He farted a lot. Also, I listened to a podcast about it. He had like irritable bowel syndrome and issues with like farts and stuff.
Hitler was a poopy farty boy?
Yeah.
Oh, what a bitch. Fuck you.
Are we learning? Does this explain almost everything that happened? Is this why he didn't get into art school?
Because he pooped. No.
Because he pooped his pants during the interview?
Maybe shit.
Maybe you poop? You want to see him come?
You gonna poop yourself?
Maybe shitting cum.
Oh God. Okay.
I hate the anime girl voice that you do. But are we? Yeah, are we gonna wrap? We should wrap.
Yeah. All right, Meat Potatoes. I need you to.
Oh well, thank you all for listening. Wait, no, hold on. Small Rash, is there anything you would like to plug before we go?
Yeah.
Follow Gamilla Ray Next Generation on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for updates about our fight for sovereignty to stop fracking on our country. But otherwise, just follow my social medias, Small Rash, and I'll keep educating.
Indeed. Check out a Small Rash's TikTok. It's absolutely amazing. There's also some there's information, there's some thirst traps, there's some cool costumes, it's grand.
It's got everything.
It's got everything you need. But yes, thank you for tuning in and listening to us on the Don't Panic podcast. Hopefully, we've helped you feel a little more chill. Today's episode is probably not going to leave you chill. You're probably going to be a little mad. But you know what? Take that anger and use it for something constructive, and tell somebody about the struggles of the indigenous people of Australia. Because I didn't know shit, and I thought I was an informed person. But once again,
It happens.
Check us out, youtube.com, Spotify, all the good stuff. Don't Panic Podcast, patreon.com/Don't Panic Podcast to support us, feed our cats, and pay for our Zencaster subscription.
Yes. Where is that cat? Nah, she's over there. I'm not going to grab her. Okay. Yep. Patreon.com/Don't Panic Podcast. Thank you so much. And everyone have a good night. I don't think it's night over there, but everyone have a good night.
If you're in Australia, have a good morning.
Afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Afternoon.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks for coming and talking with us. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good night and good luck.